Welcome back. In this video, I just want to address something that I think is a common question, which is what do underscores actually do? What's the significance of underscores in names? So there's a couple of options. We have something like this. We have another thing where we have two underscores in front of something. And then finally, we have these dunder method names that have two underscores on either side of a name. So what's the difference between any of these? Or what's the significance? So really quickly, let's start with this first one. Let's say we have a class. I'm going to define a class for all of these that we use, just called person. And inside of person, we have our init, which is one of those dunder methods. So maybe that's a good place to start. These dunder methods, we could define our own. I could define a method called hello. There's nothing wrong with that technically in Python. But conventionally, this is a bad idea. The whole goal is that we only define these when we're actually referencing or overriding something that exists in Python, a special dunder method like init. So you don't go around just defining your own methods willy-nilly that are dunder methods. These are special things that Python looks for. For example, it always looks for the dunder init method in a class when it tries to instantiate a new instance of that class. So you don't want to go defining those. That's the simplest one. Those are just magic methods. We talk a lot more about them later in the course, but just don't venture out and make your own dunder methods. All right, so we have this. And let's say I just set a property called single underscore, secret equals hi, self dot underscore secret equals hi, and then another property that doesn't have that underscore, self dot name equals Tony. And then I initialize a person, p equals person, like this. And then I just print p dot name, print p dot underscore secret. Do we expect anything different to happen based off of what we've talked about so far? If we run this, you can see both of them are printed out just fine. This single underscore is simply a convention. It's a way of telling developers, please, this is supposed to be a private variable or a private property or method. There's no such thing as a private attribute or a private method in Python. That's just how Python is. It's how it was created. Other languages support private methods, private properties, or attributes where you could not access them from outside of the class. Usually, though, it's not based off of the name. Usually, you would define something like private self.secret equals hi. And then if I tried to access this from outside, I would not be able to. And then this would be public by default. Python does not have that. So this is the way that we specify something is not intended to be used outside of the class. Secret is only supposed to be used. Maybe we have a method here called doorman, and doorman asks for the secret. Let's say it's like a speakeasy where you have to know the secret. So we could just say if guess equals dot underscore secret, then let them in or something like that, where we're using underscore secret internally, but it's not intended to be used outside like it is here. But again, there's nothing preventing someone from doing that. It's just about respecting conventions. You won't get in trouble if you access something that starts with an underscore. It's just a way of a developer saying this is intended for internal use versus, name you can access freely or change at will. And the final example where we have two underscores before the name of an attribute or a method and nothing afterwards, just two before. This is actually not purely conventional. This actually does something behind the scenes. And to illustrate that, I'm going to comment out this code that won't work. Let's make something in here called self.two underscores, message equals I like turtles, like this. Okay. And if I try and print that double underscore message, we actually won't be able to. Let's try it. We get attribute error. Person has no object, or person object has no attribute, double underscore message. What's happening here is something known as name mangling. So when we put two underscores before the name of a method or an attribute, Python will, behind the scenes, mangle the name or change the name of that attribute. And to see what it actually looks like, let's just do dir of p. And we'll print that and run it. Okay, so you can see what we have going on here. We have name, we have underscore secret, but there's no double underscore message. All the way up here, though, we have underscore person double underscore message. It's always in this pattern where it's single underscore, the class name, and then the double underscore, whatever we called it, message or get name or whatever the attribute or method was called. So if we did one more here, self.lol equals ha 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 ha, and I rerun the code, you'll see we now have the underscore person, double underscore lol underscore person, double underscore msg. So we can access them if we wanted to. We could just do print p dot underscore person double underscore msg, or the same thing but for lol. And if I do those, we get I like turtles, ha ha ha, along with those first two examples. So when we say name mangling, you might think that that means like totally changing and obfuscating the name, making it impossible to know, and like kind of, making it secure or something, but that's not at all what it does. Its sole purpose is to make this method or this attribute particular to this person class, so that once we talk about inheritance, we might have another class called salesperson or teacher that inherits from person, and they have their own double underscore message, and we don't want them to conflict. We want them to be unique. Well, if we use double underscore message, then Python mangles the name and basically puts the class name in there so that self.person message is different than self.teacher double underscore message. Anyway, that's not really for this video. It will make more sense when we talk about inheritance and overriding and name conflicts and all of that. I just wanted to run through all three examples. This first example, single underscore, is to signify that something is supposed to be for internal use in a class, pure convention. This second example, what we just saw, 2 underscores at the beginning, Python will actually do something. It's the only one where Python does something based off of the name and it's not a convention thing. What it actually does is that it changes the name. It's called name mangling, and it puts the class name first. But it's not hiding it or anything. It's predictable in how it behaves. And then finally, dunder methods, 2 underscores on either side. It's a convention that you should respect. You can define your own, but you shouldn't. They're used for Python-specific methods like init that we will then define on our own, and we'll see a bunch more things like len, what else? REPR. They're all over the place. Add, we'll define our own. Spend a lot of time later in the course talking about them. So don't go defining your own methods with 2 underscores before and after unless you know what you're doing and it's a particular thing in Python that you're trying to override. Okay, done with underscores.